Family disputes can be incredibly messy. They're expensive and they seem to drag on forever. But what if there was a way to get a final, legally binding answer on a common disagreement in less than a week? In this explainer, we're going to dig into a new model that's designed to do exactly that.
Think about it. For a family that's separated, a question like this, it's not just about scheduling. It can be a really urgent, high-stress conflict, especially when the holidays are just a few weeks away. You need an answer, and you need it now. But getting one, well, that's often where the real trouble starts.
So, why is it so hard to get a quick answer? Well, it really comes down to what you could call the family court bottleneck. The traditional system, you see, just wasn't built for the kind of speed that modern family problems really demand.
And this right here lays out the problem perfectly. The usual court process is like this long, winding road. You're waiting for months, you're making multiple trips to the courthouse, legal fees are piling up, and all the while, you're just living with this cloud of uncertainty. The system itself just adds delay and expense when families need the exact opposite. Here's the bottom line. When you need to figure out which school your kid's gonna attend next month or how you're gonna split the summer holidays, you need an answer today, not waiting around for months on end. The system is just too bogged down to make that happen. So, seeing this exact problem play out time and time again, two experienced family arbitrators in the Canadian province of Saskatchewan, David Couture and Brad Hunter, they just decided to build something better. They came up with this really innovative solution to break right through that bottleneck and deliver fast, binding decisions. And what they came up with is called truncated arbitration. Yeah, it sounds a bit technical, but really it's just a way of saying a much shorter, much more focused process. The entire idea is to just strip away all the unnecessary delays and get straight to a final decision on one single clear issue. Okay, so how on earth does this model get you a decision in days instead of months? Well, it all comes down to this really slick four-step process. Basically, they've stripped this whole thing down to the bare essentials. First, everybody agrees on one specific issue to solve. That's it. Next, you submit your evidence in writing, usually with a legal statement called an affidavit. Then, there's a super brief hearing that's all online. And finally, the arbitrator gives you a binding ruling. It's all done remotely, which, saves everyone a ton of time and money. Okay, but what's this gonna cost, right? Because the whole process is so streamlined, it can have a fixed fee, starting as low as $2,500. This gives you cost certainty, which is a completely different world from those scary open-ended legal bills you hear about with a traditional court fight. And the speed, it's just as impressive. The promise is a binding, legally enforceable decision in 7 days or less. Now, for a family that's waiting on an urgent answer about Christmas, that's a total game changer. Okay, so you might be wondering, is this whole private thing even legit? Can it hold up? Absolutely. The power behind it comes from a formal arbitration agreement that both people sign before anything even starts. This isn't some informal chat, it is a real enforceable legal process. And this right here, this clause from the agreement, this is the magic ingredient. It confirms that the arbitrator's decision is final and that it carries the exact same weight as a court judgment. You can take it to the court, register it, and enforce it just like any other order. The agreement makes sure to cover all the legal bases, so the process is fair and totally airtight. But here's something you probably weren't expecting. It even has a clause about using artificial intelligence. This just acknowledges that the arbitrator might use AI tools to help summarize documents or manage the case, all while keeping everything completely confidential, of course. So this sounds great for holiday schedules, but what else is it good for? Well, it turns out the applications are super practical for all those single-issue fights that can get families stuck for months on end. I mean, think about all those common arguments that can drag on forever. Deciding on a school, figuring out how to divide up everything in the house, or who pays for hockey versus piano lessons, even just settling on where to drop off and pick up the kids. These are the perfect kinds of disputes this model can solve, and solve quickly, helping families avoid a long, painful fight. So, at the end of the day, the big idea here isn't just about being fast. It's about getting that certainty. It gives families a clear, final answer so they can stop fighting over one thing and actually start planning for the future. And that really leaves us with a pretty big question to chew on. If this kind of streamlined, efficient, and binding model works so well for urgent family matters, what other parts of our slow-moving justice system could it completely transform?